like to call upon our panel members. The first panel member who's going to join us is the Senior Director of Data Protections and Innovations at Google. Prior to Google, he served as Head of Privacy for Alexa at Amazon, where he focused on building and enhancing customer trust in Alexa. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Karthik Mitta. Introducing our next panel member, who's a Senior Director, CISO in Residence in 𝗧𝗰𝗍𝗪 Inc., helping customers and CISOs navigate complex zero-trust transformations. He brings extensive experience in cybersecurity and technology. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming Mr. Suvabrata Sinha. Please give him a big round of applause. With immense pleasure, let's invite our next panel member who has experience over 2 decades in data privacy and information security domain. He is primarily focused on user design, AI and ML, cloud and more. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Ramakant Mohapatra. Introducing our next panel member, who is a pioneer in the field of cyber law in India. He is the founder of www.Naavi.org, the premier cyber law and data protection portal in India, and is also the chairman of Foundation of Data Protection Professions in India. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Naavi Vijayashankar. Introducing our moderator, the Head of Enterprises Services Support, also member of Gen AI Security Research Team at Lenovo. He possesses a master's degree in cybersecurity and CISSP certified and pursuing a PhD in technology management. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Sivakumar Dhakshinamoorthy. Yeah. So welcome all. So over to you, judges.
Hello. Thank you. Good morning, Bangalore. Let's do small energy meter test. Good morning. Wow, still energy is completely is available in the room. Great. Okay, so today discussion is all about AI, data, privacy. Okay, so you may be thinking that, I know that I can read some of your mind. AI? Yes. AI is important topic, right? Okay. AI is a boardroom discussion today, right? You can't avoid the AI name anywhere, wherever you go. But it is improving our life, right? It is productivity, your quality, your cost saving. Everywhere they're talking about AI and the data. But of course, when it comes to AI and the benefit, it has its own challenges, right? So we are going to talk about in this exclusive senior leadership of the panelists, we are going to talk about predominantly about privacy, right? But of course, you may be thinking that your privacy as well as security, there is a correlation, always there is a relationship. You cannot go completely away, right? So when you talk about privacy, that is all about your data, how are you controlling, right? How your data, all about your data. When it comes to security, it talks about how are you controlling, how are you protecting your access, this kind of data. Now this discussion is because of AI world is growing, how we are going to protect the privacy and the threats, currently threat landscape is available, how we can able to, let's navigate this now. Okay, before we get into the quicker question, I wanted to quickly the panel members to introduce their name, what they do, what they expect on it. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, friends. I am most commonly referred to as Naavi. My name is, of course, Vijayashankar. I am the chairperson of Foundation of Data Protection Professionals in India, Bangalore. It's a Section 8 company focusing on data privacy. I was otherwise involved in cyber law right from the year 1998 when the Act came in. We are working on various certification programs for creating privacy professionals for Indian ecosystem. We also develop framework for compliance. So that is what 𝗣𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃 represents, and I actually try to provide whatever guidance I can give for that. That is me.
Hi, I am Ramakant Mohapatra. I am currently working as the Director of Data Privacy and Protection at 𝗍𝗵𝗃𝗃 Limited, one of the product company of 𝗍𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃. So I manage the privacy by design engineering for the Pinnacle product and other products that they have. And basically the customer interaction, customer angles, and how to protect their data, that is something that I look after. And just to mention that I was recognized as the Privacy Leader of the Year by NASSCOM last year, December 2023. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Suva. So to me, privacy has two main perspectives. Number one is design for privacy. We need to make sure that applications, websites, experiences, they are designed with privacy in mind. I think that doesn't happen. And that causes a problem that cannot be solved post facto. And the second part of it, and what I believe, and I think it's a little provocative, is that the problem is us, right? I mean, a broader social community. We don't value our own privacy enough. We say we do, we think we do, but we don't act like we do, right? And again, it's a broader topic, but unless we raise our own consciousness individually and socially, I don't think this problem will ever get solved. No law, no regulation, nothing can solve that problem.
All right. Namaste. My name is Karthik. I'm a Bangalore boy. I was born and raised here. And I'm happy to be back here with all of you. As the host has already introduced, I run privacy engineering organizations at Google. A large part of my remit is about data protection, and Google deals with billions and billions of terabytes of data. Building infrastructure to protect the data, keep it safe, make sure that as we go into the AI world, how do we handle that data safely? A large part of that is part of my team's remit. So happy to be here, and thank you.
Okay, the first question, maybe let me go to randomly, Suvabrata, for you it is. In the challenging world, right, in the currently it is, we have a lot of challenges when it comes to data side, that too, on the AI side, right? How are you protecting the personal data, in specifically on the digital side of it? That too, the growing concern is extremely high on it. So how are you doing it currently? What are the challenges? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Siva. That is a good question. So it is not that the personal data was not protected earlier in different parts, right? It was already there, but we started becoming more and more aware nowadays, and because we have a lot of demands as users. So because of the knowledge of the users, it has taken a different paradigm right now. So what we have to break into two parts. One is the maturity of the organization or the services and the products. Another one is that what to do, how to do, and how much to protect, right? So the protecting is enormous. We cannot go on protecting everything. So in order to move there are simple tactics we can use. So you can do an assessment of what is the current state of baseline, privacy maturity, the protection levels. And indirectly that will be known as privacy risk assessment or impact assessment of what are the services that you deliver or you are protecting for your customers, number one. Number two, while you do that, we have to understand that what is the gap, what are the vulnerability areas, and also map that into the risk assessment, risk scores. Because privacy goes by protecting based on the risk score or risk or harm that is caused. So we should not do so much in order to have an impact on the overall system, right? So that is number two. So all this can be achieved very easily by using privacy by design, where we follow an approach which is focused more on user concerns and end-to-end security, all the principles. While doing that, we need to use privacy engineering. While through the privacy engineering, we have to identify the real data that needs to be protected and also how it has to be protected and how much will be protected. So in the simple terms, based on the experience, we can categorize into two parts. One is data strategy and one is process strategy. So in the process strategy, we come according to organizational measures, if you understand. Organizational measurements establishing the privacy policies, framework, and deterrent controls, right? That has to be accountable. And training the users and those who are using, those who are developing. And also, as part of that, we have to understand that we have three different ones. One is control, one is inform, and the different techniques, like consents you have to give, notices you have to give, and so those will be the fundamentals. Now coming to the data strategy, where you have to use the privacy enhancing technologies or the kind of engineering tools in order to do the preserving technology of the privacy in the systems. When you talk about systems, data will be flowing through the different kind of life cycle, right? Sometimes during the rest or in the motion or during the processing or during the sharing across the borders. So we have to ensure that the privacy preserving technologies or PETs has to be implemented in order to do that.
Great.
Now the different kind of things we have to take care. We should not do more because it has impact on the cost and also it has impact on the overall accessibility. So we have to do right based on the risk assessment, risk scores, and it has been proven that it is taking shape and it is giving good results. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Ramakant, for that great information. I wanted to ask now, Suvabrata, specifically, I know that he is on that area. What are the challenges you see in protecting the personal data? What are the key challenges?
Was it for me?
Yeah.
I can't hear from the monitors very well.
Oh, sorry. Maybe Suvabrata. Ramakant, sir. Oh, you can't able to hear properly on it, right? Yeah. Okay, just hold on. Then let me. Okay, Karthik, specifically for you. Is it okay? Can you able to hear now?
Yes.
Okay. So, what are the current and future privacy threats? What do you see from from Google point of view? You're already working on this specifically on that area. Can you throw some light on it?
Sure. Thank you. I think we'll start probably with the question a gentleman here asked in the previous conversation about children's data. And it's a fascinating problem. We can take that example and then extend that to everything else. There are rules and regulations coming up on what is a child, right? In some countries, 11 years is a child. In some places, 13 is a child. In some places, 18 is a child. And it becomes increasingly complicated. There is no mechanism to kind of figure out an identification of a child unless there is assertion. So let's say somebody is using a Google product. The person using the Google, I have a 14-year-old boy at home. And if my son uses on his phone, Google understands my son as a child. But when my son uses on my phone, Google doesn't understand because Google doesn't know who is using it. This is a complicated problem on how to solve this. It's one of the, from a privacy threats perspective, how do we understand data? At the bottom, largely the ways to solve this boils down to what we call primitive understanding of data. Can we understand data at scale? Do we understand what is in the data? And imagine we can't do this manually. The idea of figuring out what data is manually and annotating data manually is an impossible task in companies like Google or most companies you all work in, because the scale of data is humongous. And with the AI world, it is just becoming even more data hungry. The amount of data we are flowing into models requires large-scale data identification before data goes into the AI models. So one of our biggest threats is, do we have technology today to understand data at scale and be able to sanitize and clean up that data before they go into the models? So a large part of our investments are going there. So there's a lot of focus on mitigating threats through scalable understanding. Then further down, when people talk about AI, they talk about it as a new problem. It's not. The data problems have always existed. AI just makes it more complicated at the scale we work in. That's all. It's exactly the same data problems we've had. Further down, there is what is, the exfiltration problem from the models, right? Data sits in the model. Hacking always existed. But if a model gets hacked, the amount of data that gets exfiltrated is 100x more than what was existing before. So thinking about that requires a different mentality on how do we protect the model. And then one of the biggest privacy conversations in AI is bias, right? Models just do whatever they're trained on. In the Indian context of things, most of us use computers, which means most of our data is available, which means we represent the model. But we are not the representation of the country, right? We don't, my mom can't resonate with most of us. We don't represent her, but the model is biased to who uses it, or what is the data that is fed into that model. And model memorizes these things. So we need to understand how do we mitigate and unbias the model at scale, right? I keep using at scale a lot because our problems are not about solving for one model, it's for solving for 250,000 models in a day. So a lot of the threats, my biggest response to this probably is, instead of thinking about AI threats as new threats in privacy, the idea is it is exactly the same privacy threats that always existed. It just gets exacerbated with AI because we are now operating at 10x, 100x more.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know that when you talk about the organization now, a lot of POC is happening, right? Predominantly on the AI model, small models are doing it. I think you had a very, very valid point, Karthik. Thank you. So now, let me ask any specific question from audience on this two topic, what we discussed. Anything you wanted specific? Yeah, I think she has some question. Can someone just pass the mic to her?
Check.
So as I told you before, right, we wanted to keep this as interactive session. We don't want only one side keep saying that. So okay, please go ahead.
Hello, yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity. My question is for Karthik. Yeah, hi. Thanks. Karthik, I just wanted to ask a question regarding the same thing, the protection of data and how it's been segregated and segmented in a way where we know what we're feeding. For example, if I search something related to, it could be a sensitive content, right? The data that I'm entering and what my nephew is entering, is there any kind of, I'm just talking in terms of what Google settings or what kind of filter mechanism did they use? Because Google is like our lifeline, right? So when we have to come, we use the map, we use the lens, so everything. So just saying from perspective of the safety standard, the privacy, how is our data safeguarded? Because everybody in my family uses Google. I know the privacy law. I work in the privacy domain, but they do not. So how can we protect our family, and how can we also educate them? So just wanted to ask you on that. Thank you.
I'm happy to answer, and feel free to jump in, please.
Please.
I think you're asking, there is the value conversation, which I think, today a lot of us use maps to get here. And when you use that map to get here, there is a data exchange that is happening between maps as a product and you as a consumer. That's the value exchange, and there is always going to be that value exchange. Google is one of those companies where we have more than 1 billion user products within one company. When I say 1 billion users, this is 1 billion active users, which means we take the responsibility of data management very, very seriously. Privacy is a complicated topic. Right, and what is privacy is very different for each people, but it comes under the same framework of what is the value exchange? What is the data that you're giving for what you're getting? 2, is that data safe and secure in the company that you're using? And Google is one of these safest places, right? Does not mean we don't have breaches, but we also have a lot of mechanisms to identify those breaches and immediately fix it, right? Google's never been held accountable. You don't hear stories about large data breaches from Google. But at the same time, it does not mean, it comes from a lot of hard work of how do we build the mechanisms and protections around these data structures, right? To your point about I use, my son grows up on Google. He's 14. Everybody uses Google today. It also means our ability to build large-scale technology to protect this data is also higher because we just operate with that amount of data. So, there is, for example, you asked about filtering. We have technology that detects sensitive content before it goes into models. We also have strict policies that says children data cannot go into advertising. So, and teams like mine build what we call policy primitives that sit in data pipelines, which keeps crawling and sniffing to make sure that no sensitive data is passing in the pipeline. And if it does, it blocks the pipeline. So most of that happens automatically. There are very few manual gates that we can use. But with all of that, there is always a possibility that things go wrong. But when things go wrong, how do we recover, and what is the resilience of our systems to recover from those things going wrong is where probably a lot of work and investment continues to happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karthik. I think the precise answer it is. Okay, next, move on. So these days, we can't prevent the incident or the data breaches, right? So what is your piece of advice, how the organization can be prepared enough to tackle the attackers? Can you just throw some light on it?
Yeah. So there is a simple answer, there is a complicated answer, right?
Yeah, you can mix and say that. Yeah, I'm sure audience we can able to understand.
So the simple answer is that anytime you build an application, anytime you build a product or an experience, the best way to frame it is to say that what are the fundamentals and how do I protect it? Because technologies vary and it is constantly changing. To me, the best construct is what is called the zero trust. I mean, you have to say that nobody should have access to the data unless their identity is verified, their device is verified, and they really need to access that particular data. This is a very simple concept, but extremely difficult sometimes to implement and implement comprehensively. And how secure an application is depends on how well these concepts are implemented and how closely they are monitored. Breaches can still happen, but organizations, applications, developers who are better prepared can respond to it in a far more agile way, right? So I think we are at a stage in technology development where we should adopt what is called the assume breach mindset. You should assume that sometime there will be a breach. I mean, it is unrealistic to expect that is not the case. So that's the simple answer. The complex answer is that there has to be a lot more awareness, not just within the developer community, but also amongst the users, right? I mean, in the choices that we make as users in the applications that we use. If you do not want some part of your life's data to be compromised, do not ever share it, right? Because once you share it, you don't know how it goes. So, but then that is complex, right? Because often we do not decide, like you live in a community and there is typically a community management app. You can't choose, right? And you end up sharing personal data anyways. And there are many, many such examples throughout our digital life. So to summarize, zero trust approach, awareness of the developers, and more importantly, awareness for us as consumers.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Any specific question? Okay. I see someone is asking. Can you just pass the mic over there? Please go ahead.
Yeah, my name is 𝗣𝗿𝗶𝗃𝗀. I am from Hyderabad. And we do a lot of client support on the cybersecurity. I just wanted to ask a basic question. So how do we ensure that a company takes care of all regulatory requirements when it comes to data privacy as per the industry standards? Because the standards are changing now and then as per the country, as per the region. So it becomes very difficult for someone to get, certain requirements which are, multifunctional, aligned across the world.
Great. I think there is one more panel member yet to talk. I think it's aligned with that. Let me ask the question. I'm sure you will get answer. Otherwise, we can able to explain exclusively for you. Is it okay? Thank you,
sir.
So, Naavi sir, specifically this question is for you. So, regulations are everywhere. You know that, complaints are there. But specifically, currently we're talking about 𝗣𝗿𝗃 Act, right? Or the programs are running. You run a lot of program on that. You already talked about on this now. Can you just specifically talk about what is very special about this and how it is different from the other regulations so that, audience also can able to get the more information on it?
Yeah, good afternoon, friends. The first thing I would like every one of you to keep in mind is, at present, we are all tuned to information security. But when we come to data privacy, while we still have to talk about information security of personal information, where you have your CIA concept or something like that, there is a new requirement which is regulatory compliance. So if you say what is a privacy threat, emerging privacy threat, the first thing you have to remember is, forget your cybercrime related things. They will all be there. They have been there for a long time. We in India have been handling it through our Information Technology Act. But what is new is the threat coming from the regulations. India is having data protection legislation now, but Information Technology Act has been in existence for 20 plus years. Was it not a data protection act? Would you not go to jail if you are non-compliant with Information Technology Act? You ask 𝗣𝗿𝗄 CEO, why did he has to fight in Supreme Court for 8 years before Data Protection Act came? So please remember that India had Information Technology Act, out of which in 2008, one section 43(a) was introduced to be more specific, and now in 2023, 𝗣𝗿𝗃 2023 is coming to replace that one section called section 43(a). Now, what is the threat? Threat is, if you are not compliant, the company may have to face a penalty of 250 crores plus. Remember, the biggest fines under GDPR, which Amazon faced and Meta faced, 1.2 billion, they were not related to data breach in the normal sense. They were related to non-compliance of GDPR. So these data protection laws are special because it can attract penalty even when there is no data breach. If you are a significant data fiduciary and you have not appointed a data protection officer, that is sufficient. If you have not had a good privacy policy or a privacy notice, that is sufficient for 100 crores fines. So that is the threat. The threat is not restricted to data being compromised through a ransomware attack and other things. All that is there. But beyond those easily visible threats, you have now the invisible threats of where is your privacy notice? Is the privacy notice given in 22 languages? Does it have the details which 𝗣𝗿𝗃 wants? Do we have a grievance redressal policy? Do we have a nomination policy? Tell me one company which has got a good nomination policy. Now that is a right of the Indian data protection data principle. That is the risk. The regulation brings certain risks about which information security community has not been aware so far. Second aspect, when we talk of information security and privacy, there is an interplay between the two concepts. Privacy of one person conflicts with the security of another person. So when I am trying to be compliant in an organization, I should remember I have to balance this. Now I receive a phishing email or a message from WhatsApp which is threatening or something like that. I go to the intermediary and ask, please tell me who has sent this. Is it not my right to ask for that?
Of course.
That person says that, no, I have got privacy. Privacy of whom? That person who has threatened. So, people are misapplying privacy laws as if it is there to protect the criminal and the terrorist. This is because the concept of privacy has not been properly understood and integrated with the information security concept. Some of you may not like my comment, but I would like you to think about it. Information security community needs to look at privacy as something which perhaps you will have to think. In fact, 𝗣𝗵𝗃𝗃, if you are talking of, he asked for what is the difference between 𝗣𝗵𝗃𝗃 and other laws. When you say other laws, the first thing which comes to your mind is GDPR. I go to a company and ask, are you privacy compliant? They will say, I am GDPR compliant. But if you are GDPR compliant, are you 𝗣𝗵𝗃𝗃 compliant? No. Because GDPR applies to data generated in EU, of EU citizens. 𝗣𝗵𝗃𝗃 actually applies to a different set of personal data generated in India of Indians. You cannot apply GDPR here. You need to have a classification system, data classification and identification system which segregates Indian data from GDPR data, from CCPA data, and any other 137 countries' data, so that you can apply appropriate laws and controls from the appropriate laws to that set of data. This is what 𝗣𝗵𝗃𝗃 is giving you as a challenge. Don't go by GDPR, and you have to unlearn GDPR to some extent. If you don't unlearn, you will make mistakes. So 𝗣𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃 is different. I've made you a few such things about nomination and other things. They are just say small indicators. Do you have a data auditor? GDPR doesn't want, has not specified a data auditor.
Not required. GDPR not required actually.
Not required. Yeah. So this law is different. If you remember this much, then perhaps you can try to understand that law, and you are intelligent enough to put controls, and you are expecting the 𝗣𝗵𝗃𝗃 rules. I will get 1 minute on the 𝗣𝗵𝗃𝗃 rules, which is coming up. Ms. Tulika is not there. I would have been happy if she had been there. Government is thinking of bringing in technology for solutions to privacy. See, 𝗣𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃 is a law. It is not, solutions to 𝗣𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃 will not come as a binary solution which technology can address. So we must remember there are limitations to technology, limitations to AI. So when we talk of artifacts, consent artifact, data breach artifact, these are all the things which the ministry is now thinking of. Remember that 𝗣𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃 compliance is a law compliance. Law compliance has a lot of interpretations to be done. So technology has to be used as a tool, not everything. So AI cannot be a 𝗣𝗵𝗃𝗃 compliance tool in its entirety. It can be my tool, but it cannot be itself. These are some of the things which I feel technology people should keep it in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Actually,
Shiva, this is Karthik.
Hey, Karthik.
Hi. Sorry.
Please.
Thank you very much. That was very helpful. Can I add on a few points from where you left off? Thank you. This is largely to the question that was asked, and I think, and this is the complexity, right? The complexity is there is a variety of laws that come up, and there is a way to think, how do you think about solving it in the engineering world, right? And the answer is the tiered model. We kind of have to tier the approach, where at the bottom tier there are all of these regulations. The requirements are very different in each of the regulations. The regulations convert to policies within the company. I think you asked the question, right? And then policy, if we write policies smartly, policies solve for applying multiple regulatory objectives. The policies then convert to technical standards, which is what the engineering teams use. Because now you're working across a set of people, and you kind of have to extract one technical standard now meeting more than one policy. Because building a technical solution for each policy, will run out of business. It's just impossible. So you then build the technical standards, but you also don't build solutions for each technical standard. You build a solution that meets multiple technical standards. The primitives that are built in code always have to solve for multiple technical standards. Multiple technical standards solve for multiple policies. Multiple policies solves for the regulatory ask. There is a little bit of how we approach this as a tiered model of solutioning. And that's, as this complication becomes more and more, the only way to do that is have a joint conversation between the government, the society, us, technology, so that we can build common solutions for multiple problems. Otherwise, this becomes a very untenable situation for most people dealing with billions of data.
I know, it's a tough. I don't think there's a directly we can say that there is a regulatory agnostic model, but we need to work towards it. You want to add some point on this actually? Yeah.
So I want to add to your question, because of the global delivery model, you are serving multiple customers, right? So from the experience, it seems that, yes, as it was mentioned that we have 137 regulations out of 194 countries in the world, right? So what we need to do in our practice is, the basic fundamentals of privacy principles that doesn't change across the regulations. Only the way it is implemented, or there will be some additions, deletions, and the contextual application that will be there. Otherwise, the fundamental strategy from collection till storage and deletion on data transfer, all those 7 or 8 principles, that remain the same. That is number one. So in the practice, what you have to do, you have to design the set of controls at the little bit of highest level, so that you meet the requirement across all the technical controls, but with a provision that you have to customize based on the requirements, as Naavi sir mentioned, for the DPDPA, GDPR, there will be some kind of thing has to be done. But if you do the foundations, fundamentals correct, more than 75 to 80% of the requirements will be taken care. That is number one. Since we are working for the global customers, we have to also ensure that we always bring down the liability. Liability is something that company will pay out, and maybe some of these small companies may be wiped out, right? So we have to have cyber insurance and aspect, which we have to ensure that there is some cyber insurance that is there in that aspect. And privacy by design and engineering tools, we have to make it implemented. Don't do non-automated things. Always make it automated, so that it is evident, we can demonstrate to the regulators on the records of processing activities, which in some way is not there in India, but they are making that in different terms of the data audit. The synonymous way of ensuring that you take control and you get it verified by someone else, right? So these are the concepts that you can use, so that you are not following that overall for each regulation or each country or each customer. Thank you.
Thank you for that additional clarification. And just because of the interest of the time, maybe last one question we can take, otherwise we need to close it. Yeah, I think that's the last one question.
Yeah, hi. Thank you all for meeting you. Actually, I could able to get the gist out of this privacy threats concept within 2 minutes. So how can we keep up to date with these regulations that's coming around different countries? So that's my curiosity to understand, how you people are able to do that.
Yeah, before pass it to the panelists, I think my view here it is, there's a lot of regulations are that different, specific to country, right? So it's based on your job function also matters. Suppose you're working for a specific country, you need to more focus toward what country applies to you. That is where you need to focus. That's my view. But I think from panelists, anybody wanted to add it?
No, you need to actually identify applicability to a data set. See, every data set has to be tagged to a given jurisdiction. That's where I said that if it is data, personal data collected from India, the name and address and other things which you collect from an Indian, that is coming under DPDPA. If you are doing business with a EU customer, that information, which if it is personal, it has to be under GDPR. So this classification has to go directly at the time of your collecting the information. Your privacy policy, which you put on the website or somewhere, should have this distinction, so that you have multiple data stores and you put that there and you apply the controls there. Now, how to keep up with the new regulations? That is something which your legal department or the compliance department has to do, because the laws not only come once, they keep on getting changed. And whenever there is a court case or something, we say that there is an interpretation, new interpretation. So it is difficult, okay? But that is what the legal department or others will have to do, compliance department. Technology department has to assimilate the changes and then modify its controls. So that is a running exercise. You need to have a steering committee which follows this. You need to have, if not monthly meetings, say quarterly meetings to change your consent format, change your controls. This is an ongoing exercise. Knowledge-wise, please keep track of companies like FDPPI. We are there only for that purpose, okay? Otherwise, you ask your legal department to develop that expertise.
Thank you, Naavi sir, for giving additional insight to it. Just interest of time, I think we need to wrap up now. So thank you very much for all the panel members for your specific insight to it and all the diverse questions. I'm sure all of you would have got benefit of it, or at least would have got the information on the specifically on the privacy area. It's an evolving field. It's not like one time just go and just read something, understand, but it is continuously evolve, and we need to look at it how we can able to improve our knowledge on that area. Thank you very much for your active participation. Thank you, panelists. Thank you.